15 spine-chilling stories exposed, terrifying, cursed secrets from the haunted corners of Reddit. Sarah huddled in the back office of the convenience store, a flickering fluorescent light casting harsh shadows against the cracked walls. The night dragged on. The only sounds were the hum of the fridge and the occasional chime of the door. She picked up her phone, desperate for distraction, her fingers trembling as she stumbled upon a thread. 15 spine-chilling stories exposed, terrifying, cursed secrets from the haunted corners of Reddit. A chill ran down her spine as she scrolled. Each tale was more nightmarish than the last, stories of whispers in the dark, neighbors hiding dreadful secrets, houses that preyed on their inhabitants. Her heart raced. Could there be an echo of truth in these bizarre accounts? Glimpses of her own suburban neighborhood flashed through her mind, the comfortable facades of homes nestled behind white picket fences. Mr. Wilkins, her charming neighbor and former school principal, came to mind, his kind smile hiding who knew what dark history. It couldn't happen here, she thought, but as the tales morphed in her imagination, the shadows loomed larger. Finishing her shift, Sarah returned home to her 2 children, Timmy and Lily. The house, usually a sanctuary filled with laughter, felt unwelcoming tonight. The lights flickered. She paused, swallowing hard, a nagging fear clawing at her gut. A new imaginary friend, they said? She couldn't shake the feeling of eyes on her, and in the corner of her periphery, she could almost see it, a dark figure watching from the hallway. "Mommy, can I have a glass of water?" Timmy's voice broke through her thoughts. She turned and forced a smile, hiding the unease brewing in her heart as he clutched his sister's hand tightly. "Sure, just a minute." Her voice trembled. The stories swirled in her mind, twisting with each mundane moment. But as the kids giggled, she felt an urge to protect them from the darkness creeping in around them. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue." With the children tucked into bed, she poured a glass of water, her hands trembling. The shadows in the corners of the room shifted as her thoughts darkened. The whispering from the Reddit thread lingered, warning of things unseen, and with every flicker of the lights, she imagined the horrors they'd described. The air tightened, becoming palpable with a presence looming in the darkness. As sleep threatened to take her, a sudden banging jolted her awake. Heart pounding, she glanced outside, but saw nothing in the floodlit street. Could it be Mr. Wilkins? Memories of that cursed thread surged back, a woman who discovered dark secrets while tempting the seemingly innocent neighborhood charm. Suddenly, the door rattled. "Sarah, open up!" The voice was frantic, filled with urgency. She rushed to the door, confusion and dread flooding her veins. When she swung it open, her breath caught in her throat. A dark figure stood silhouetted against the night, an unsettling smile stretching across its face. "You shouldn't have read the stories," it whispered, the warmth long gone, replaced by cold promise of chaos. Massive dread squeezed around her heart, tightening like a noose. This was just the beginning. The curse that haunted her town was now creeping into her life, lurking just beyond the veil of her comfort. What would she uncover next? The figure lingered, casting an oppressive gloom that swallowed the light from inside her home. Sarah's instincts screamed at her to slam the door, yet her feet were rooted in place. The man's smile seemed to widen, revealing teeth that glinted like knives. "Who are you?" she croaked, each word heavy with dread. "You really don't remember me." His voice was a low rasp, echoing with familiarity that made her stomach churn. The shadows danced around him, distorting his shape, morphing him into something monstrous. "I just wanted to share a story, the last one you'll ever hear." Adrenaline surged as she finally found her voice. "Get away from my house!" The figure stepped closer, pouring through the door like mist. "You've opened the door to something far worse than you can imagine, Sarah. Your curiosity has put you all in danger." He gestured towards the darkened hallway behind her. "It knows you're here." A chill crawled up her spine. "What are you talking about?" She took a step back, trying to shield her children from the looming threat. "You need to leave, now!" Laughter rumbled from the figure, deep and unsettling, like thunder rolling through a desolate landscape. "Oh, but it's too late for that. The stories you read, they're more than just tales. They're warnings. And now, the thing that haunts this neighborhood, it's coming for you, for them." He pointed a long, bony finger toward the children's room. "No!" Panic clawed at her throat, rendered speechless as her heart thudded painfully against her ribs. She wanted to scream, but the words lodged in her throat, choking her silence. She rustled her breath and shouted, "Get out, if you don't!" "The darkness doesn't listen to commands," he interrupted, stepping further into her home. "It watches, waiting for you to falter, to weaken. It preys on fear." As if summoned by his words, the lights flickered violently before plunging the house into darkness. Sarah's breath quickened, her pulse racing as she fumbled for her phone, desperately trying to illuminate the suffocating void. "Timmy, Lily," she called out, her voice cracking. "Mommy, what's happening?" Timmy's voice quavered. The sound sliced through the paralysis gripping her. Rushing toward the kids' room, she rallied every ounce of courage left in her. "Stay close!" She stumbled over toys strewn across the floor, her heart racing as she yanked open the door. The moonlight offered just enough glow to light the frightened faces of her children. "Mommy!" Lily wailed, crawling under her covers. "Shh," Sarah whispered softly. "It's okay. I'm here." But the air held a weight, thickening the darkness, suffocating whatever comfort her presence should have given them. She backed in, closing the door. "Stay quiet," she urged, her eyes darting to the hallway. Every shadow now alive, every sound magnified in the heavy silence. She could almost feel it. Something lurking, watching, calculating their fear. As minutes crept by in agonizing slowness, Sarah tried to hold on to hope. Perhaps it was just a nightmare, just a stranger playing a sick joke. What if he was right? A cold thought whispered in her mind. Before she could push it away, a loud crash erupted from the living room, shaking the walls. The windows rattled, and the kids squeezed tighter against her. "Mommy," Timmy asked, eyes wide with terror. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together," she replied, though she questioned her own conviction. As another crash echoed through the house, Sarah felt something shift in the air, a drop in temperature, a residual of ancient malice creeping closer. The door rattled once more, this time with a force that resonated deep within her bones. Then came the whispers, soft yet insistent, like fingernails scraping against glass. "Sarah, it's time to know." "No!" She bit her lip, heart racing with primal fear, demanding she flee. "What do I have to do?" she shouted into the dark, but all she received was silence, thick and smothering. The kids pressed into her, trembling. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it all stopped. The whispers faded, the house fell eerily silent. leaving a vacuum of dread. Sarah stood poised, hyper-aware of the fragile piece, but somewhere beyond the quiet, she felt its presence, waiting, lurking, and biding its time. "Mommy, are we safe now?" Timmy whispered. "We will be," she lied, hoping she could keep them safe. But in her gut, a gnawing fear bloomed, reminding her they were just beginning to unravel the darkness that had come to haunt them. What secrets might await them in the corridors of the night? The silence in the room swelled, heavy and thick. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. It was suffocating. In the tense stillness, her children's breathing was all she could hear, quick and shallow, matching the pounding of her heart. "Mommy," Lily whispered again, her voice small and fragile, a threadbare tapestry too worn to offer any comfort. "Just stay quiet," Sarah murmured, forcing herself to remain calm despite the war raging inside her mind. Outside the door, the house groaned, the air vibrating with an unnatural energy. Suddenly, a different sound emerged, a dragging, scraping noise that slithered along the floor, creeping ever closer. Sarah's pulse quickened, each beat a drum of impending doom. What could be making that sound? Timmy clutched her arm, his tiny fingers biting into her skin as if holding on to a lifeline. "What is it, Mommy?" She shushed him, praying that somehow, if they stayed silent enough, whatever was out there would pass by. But the scraping grew louder, more persistent. It became rhythmic, like the approach of an inexorable tide. "Please," she begged the dark, "just leave us alone." With a sudden crash, the door to the children's room rattled as if something outside sought to break in. The doorknob twisted, and the door lurched as something powerful slammed against it. Sarah's breath hitched. She wanted to scream, to run, but her body was frozen in place. "Mommy!" Timmy shrieked, his voice a piercing cry that shattered the silence. "Stay behind me," Sarah shouted, instinctively placing herself between her children and the door. The atmosphere changed, warping around them, thickening with an energy that thrummed angrily, as if the very air was alive. The door was slammed again. This time, a shadowy figure, fluid and dark, seeped through the cracks, tendrils of darkness writhing and stretching across the space. Sarah's stomach dropped. The face of the figure that emerged was indistinct, yet somehow familiar, twisted in a grotesque semblance of the man from before. "You can't run from it, Sarah," it rasped, every word dripping with malice. "You're woven into the tale now." "Get out!" She pushed against the weight of darkness that pressed into the room, but it was relentless, filling every corner. The figure tilted its head, a grotesque smirk stretching across its face, teeth glinting like shards of glass. "They want to know. They want to see. Like you." A cold knot of dread crept up Sarah's spine. "You stay away from my children!" A wave of freezing air washed over her. The lights flickered back to life, illuminating the figure fully. Its eyes were hollow voids, drawing her in, unraveling the threads of her sanity. Suddenly, the shadows around it extended, snaking toward Timmy and Lily. She lunged forward, but it was too late. The inky tendrils whipped around her children, squeezing them in a tight grip. "Mommy!" they cried out, voices melding into a symphony of fear. "No!" Sarah shrieked, desperation clawing at her chest. She was trapped in a nightmare. Something clawed at the edges of her mind. "What do you want?" "Only to share with you the truth of death," it hissed, each word curling like smoke. The figure tilted back and let out a laughter that echoed through the house, chilling Sarah to the bone. It felt like a countdown, the kind that churned in the pit of her stomach. She fought against the shadow's grip on her children, adrenaline surging through her veins. "Let them go! This is between us!" But with a snap of its fingers, The shadows intensified, encasing them. The darkness threatened to consume everything, and with it, a million voices began to whisper simultaneously, echoing her name. Sarah, it's time to know the stories, the truth about the others. She could feel the weight of their words pushing down on her, shifting her very essence. Despair surged through her, raw and primal. She had to end this. "I won't let you take them," she cried, her voice cutting through the darkness. But the shadows responded with a deafening roar, enveloping everything in pitch black. And as the terror reached a crescendo, she felt it, the fabric of her reality tearing apart. There were tales she didn't know, monsters that lurked beyond the veil of her understanding. What secrets were about to be revealed? As the walls of her sanctuary began to collapse, she realized the true horror had only just begun. The darkness throbbed with a life of its own, pulsating like a heartbeat, tightening around Sarah and her children. She could hardly breathe, every inhale laced with the pungent scent of decay. Timmy and Lily whimpered, their cries swallowed by the echoing laughter of the figure, which reverberated through the room like a malevolent choir. "Mommy, help!" Timmy's voice was fragile, a mere whisper against the overwhelming shadow. Sarah's heart raced, each thump resonating against her ribs like a desperate drumbeat. She spearheaded forward, flailing her arms, trying to swat away the tendrils that ensnared her children. But each flicker of movement only made them tighten around her, as if the shadows delighted in her futile struggle. "Stay with me," she commanded, her voice sharp, tinged with panic. But the laughter grew louder, drowning out her command. It was as if they were wrapped in a living blanket woven from despair. "Do you see, Sarah?" the figure hissed, its voice slithering around her like smoke. "You think it is just an illusion, but you are trapped in a web spun with intention. You have always been part of this story." Her mind spun wildly in the dark, trying to decipher its words. What story? What web? Were they just figments of a twisted imagination, or were they real? "You're lying! You're nothing but a monster!" Ah, but monsters are born from reality and choice. The choices you make define you. Your children, they're already part of the tale, and soon you will join them, it said, a sinister whisper soon seeping into her bones. The shadows around her felt alive, pulling at her limbs, wrapping tighter. She could feel her strength waning, but despair was not an option. Sarah gathered every ounce of courage and love for her children. "Listen to me, Timmy, Lily, hold on to each other. I love you. We will fight this together." As the words left her mouth, a sudden surge of warmth flickered in the room, like a faint candle fighting against the surrounding darkness. The shadows recoiled slightly, as if stung.
"Love? Such a trivial thing?" the figure scoffed, disdain simmering in its tone. "It cannot save you from the truth. The darkness will consume you all." "Let go! You have no power here!" Sarah shouted, clenching her fists in defiance. She focused on the warmth, imagining a protective shield around her children. "We will not be part of your story!" "Foolishness!" it shrieked, more furious now, shadowy tendrils lashing out like snakes, scattering across the room. "You have no idea the fate awaiting you! Revelations beyond your comprehension!" Then the darkness struck, illuminating the room in a bizarre flash of blinding white. Sarah blinked, expecting chaos, but in that instant the landscape shifted. They stood no longer in the children's room, but in a vast, nightmarish space, a field cluttered with crumbled gravestones, fog swirling like a malevolent mist around them. "Welcome," the figure said, now morphing in shape, its voice wrapping tighter around her throat. The gravestones bore names of people she recognized, neighbors, friends, even family members, whose faces flickered in the shadows of her memory. The realization gripped her with icy fingers. They had been silenced, lost to the web of forgotten stories. "What is this?" Sarah demanded, her voice betraying her solid footing. "It is the truth, the scared remnants of lives consumed by the dark," it rasped, a twisted smile forming. "And soon, this will be your legacy." The children stiffened at her side, fear curling into their chests. "Mommy, I'm scared," Lily whimpered, clutching Timmy. "Stay close," Sarah said through gritted teeth, trying to center herself amidst the swirling dread. The boundaries of her reality twisted, seams ripping wider. Then, and it was swift, a new sound echoed through the graveyard, a melodic whisper wafting on the chilling wind. It carried tales of tragedies untold, resonating in each stone, the stories of those who had sacrificed so much. "What is that?" Sarah breathed. "You're ready to listen," the figure said, voice deepening, almost euphoric. "It's time for the last story to unfold." The ground beneath her trembled, shadows swirling around their feet. As the whispers grew louder, Sarah realized what truths were about to be extricated, and would she betray her children to save herself? "Do you hear it?" the figure taunted. "The call of the others, the ones forgotten. They will tell you what you need to know." The weight of the moment bore down on her. What lay behind the whispers? Would the truth claim her and her children, or would they emerge irrevocably changed? The shadows began to close in once more, and as the darkness throbbed with anticipation, Sarah could feel the stories shift, unfurling like a sinister bloom of dread, stretching into the void. Could she stand firm against the tide of revelations on the horizon? Would the family explore the horror together, or succumb to the abyss? The air crackled as the tale thickened, and it dawned on her. The darkest secrets of the past were just a breath away from reality. The ground shook violently, and Sarah felt a cold sweat trickle down her back. The whispers turned into a haunting cacophony, echoing off the gravestones, each name now alive with anguish. She clutched Timmy and Lily tighter, her heart pounding like the footfalls of an approaching storm. "Mommy!" Timmy cried, terror infusing his voice as the shadows lunged, stretching toward them like desperate hands. She was losing them. She could feel it. The darkness was creeping in, burrowing itself into their minds, each tendril whispering doubts, fears, and regrets. "No!" Sarah screamed, throwing her body in front of her children. She felt the air crackle, a surge of her wild love pushing against the tide. "You will not take them! You will not!" The figure laughed, a sound so chilling it made her bones rattle. "You think you can protect them?" it sneered, its form twisting like smoke in a breeze. "They are already claimed by the darkness." In that moment, the whispers around her melded into hushed voices, each story woven with sorrow and betrayal. It was a wave of emotions crashing against her resolve. She began to hear them clearly, echoes of past lives lost to despair, mothers like her, fathers whose choices sealed their doom. "Look around, Sarah," the figure demanded, gesturing sharply to the gravestones. "You are standing on their graves. These lost souls, they have no rest because their tales remain untold. You could change that." A rush of images flooded her mind, snapshots of the lives he spoke of, visions of joy that turned into grief, laughter that faded into silence. One face stood out, a man with kind eyes who smiled at her from the shadows, a figure she recognized from years ago, before the darkness settled into her town. "What did you do to him?" she gasped,
realization dawning like a cold light. "Oh, we made a bargain," the figure replied, its voice dripping with delight. "He chose his legacy, as you will soon choose yours." Timmy whimpered, stepping back, fear glazing his wide eyes. "Mommy, I don't want to be part of that. I want to go home." The innocence in his voice shattered Sarah's heart. "Stay close, sweetheart," she insisted, but inside, despair churned like a storm. Could she relinquish her identity? Could saving her children mean dooming another to join the ranks of the forgotten? "Time is running out," the figure warned, its voice curling like smoke around her ears. "You can end this cycle, share their stories, awaken their forgotten legacies, or watch them succumb to the shadows like so many before." The shadows lunged closer, tendrils entwining her legs, pulling her down into the suffocating darkness. Sarah felt her resolve wavering. The heaviness of despair threatened to crush her. Would this be the end? Would she let her children slip away? Suddenly, the whispers turned into screams. The voices clamored, a chaotic chorus of trauma pleading for release. Sarah squeezed her children tighter, anger rising within her. She hadn't fought this hard to watch them be lost to the darkness. "No, you will not take my children. Their stories will not end here," she shouted, thrusting her chin up defiantly. In that instant, anger burned brighter than fear, shattering the dark tendrils wrapping around her. The laughter from the figure echoed in the graveyard, mocking, but now there was a tremor of uncertainty in its tone. "You dare challenge me? You desire to harness the power of their voices?" "Yes," she cried, "I'll find a way to save Timmy and Lily." The figure's form shifted, merging with the shadows swirling around them. "Then face the truth, Sarah. Face what you are willing to sacrifice." With a sudden rush, the air exploded with energy, shadows colliding with her fierce love, creating flashes of light and darkness, illuminating the ground beneath. In those blinding moments, flashes of lives intermingled, the stories of joy, pain, choices long forgotten. As the layers of despair peeled away, she heard the faintest glimmer of one voice cutting through the chaos, filled with hope. "It's time to take back what's been lost." But reality blurred around them, and as Sarah reached for that voice, everything went dark. As silence enveloped them, she felt herself slipping. What truths awaited her in that pitch-black void? Would she find the strength to save her children, or would they be consumed by the shadows alongside the secrets they bore? The air shimmered with unanswered questions as the darkness closed in, pressing around their fragile existence. Sudden brightness pierced the darkness, unnatural and blinding. Sarah blinked, becoming aware of a chilling cold that enveloped not just her, but her children too. Dread slithered down her spine, pooling in her stomach. They were no longer surrounded by gravestones. Instead, they stood in a fog-laden forest, twisted trees looming over them like sinister giants. Trees? How did they get here? Timmy clutched her hand, his little fingers trembling. "Mommy, where are we?" His voice was fragile, almost lost in the thick air, yet it filled her with resolve. They were together, and she would protect them. "We're going to find a way back, sweetheart," she assured him, glancing around for a sign, anything that could guide them. But the trees only stare, their gnarled branches whispering secrets, their bark blackened as if scorched by fire. "Do you feel it?" Lily whispered, her innocent eyes wide, scanning the darkness that pulsed in the fog. "It doesn't want us here." Before Sarah could respond, the treetops sputtered and creaked, the wind coming to life with a wail. Shadows danced around them, teasing her with quick flashes of haunting silhouettes, lost souls forever trapped. A framing sense of oppression tightened around her chest, the weight of despair heavy in the silence. "Stay close," Sarah urged, heart racing. She began to lead her children through the dense thicket, every rustle in the bushes igniting a primal fear deep within her. She couldn't let them be separated. The fog thickened, curled around
them with ghostly fingers. Panic set in. Every turn looked the same, each path winding deeper into the heart of the unknown. "I can't see anything," Timmy cried, his voice tinged with rising hysteria. "Keep moving! We have to keep moving!" Sarah shouted, adrenaline surging through her limbs. Another wail echoed through the trees. It was a sound of pain, grief, and anger, all wrapped together, making the hairs on the back of her neck stand tall. "Mommy, what was that?" Lily's voice cracked, her grip tightening around her mother's arm. "I don't know." Fear wrapped around Sarah's words like a noose. Her heart pounded furiously as she felt unseen eyes watching from the treetops, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. In the depths of the fog, shapes began to emerge, figures moving, shadows swirling with purpose. They were the lost souls, some bearing familiar features, faces etched with anguish. "Sarah," a voice drifted through the mist, soft yet laced with agony. It struck her, threading through her will like a needle. "Who's there?" she called out, panic rising as recognition clawed at her memory. For a moment she thought she saw him, the man with kind eyes who lingered in her recollection like a dream just out of grasp. But just as quickly, the shadow morphed, losing form in the thickening atmosphere. "They are here to die again and again," the fragmented voice whispered, sending chills spiraling through her. "You must pay the price." "What do you want from us?" Sarah shouted, defiance spilling out. She was not going to let this darkness engulf her family. Yet the answer came not from the shadows, but from within herself. Visions danced behind her eyes, memories she had long buried, regrets that threatened to rupture the fragile calm she had tried to maintain. She understood in that moment. The bargain. To redeem her children, she had to confront her past, the ghosts of her own choices. Timmy tugged on her sleeve. "Mommy, I'm scared." His voice broke her from her reverie, reminding her of the immediate danger surrounding them. "Listen to me," Sarah hissed, desperation sharpening her words. "Whatever happens, we face it together. Do you hear me? Together." But her resolve wavered as shadows coiled closer, dark whispers promising comfort amidst the torment. To protect her children, to save them from being swallowed whole, she understood. The darkest secrets lie deep inside, and they'd have to confront them. Then it struck her, raw and palpable. We need to find the truth. We need to break the cycle. The trees shivered as shadows converged, the figures rushing forward, their distorted faces reflecting her deepest fears. The forest pulsated, closing in, and the moment of decision loomed before her. Could she truly face the haunting reality of her past? Would they emerge unscathed, or would this fog swallow them whole? As the chilling wail enveloped them, a single thought echoed in her mind. What price would she pay? Sarah gripped her children tighter, heart racing. This trap of darkness, she had only one choice: fight or be consumed. And somewhere beyond the creeping shadows, a familiar voice murmured, "The truth awaits." The shadows lunged, a chaotic swirl of cold, spectral energy that charged the air around them. Sarah's instincts screamed to run, to flee, but there was nowhere to go, nowhere safe. Panic surged as she pulled Timmy and Lily closer, feeling their small forms shaking against her.
"Look!" Lily pointed, her voice quaking, as a flicker of light pierced the murky fog, thin, flickering, almost inviting. "Stay here," Sarah instructed, though her heart raced at the thought of leaving them behind. The light flickered again, almost like a beacon. Was it hope or a trap? "Mommy, please," Timmy begged, eyes wide and glistening with tears. "I can't be here anymore." "I know, baby. Just hold on," she said, forcing courage into her voice. They couldn't stand still. The dark figures were edging closer, their anguished faces now clearer in the gloom. She had to act. With one last glance at the ghostly forms, she took a step toward the light, pulling her children along. The moment they did, a shriek burst forth, the air vibrating with chilling rage. It was as if the forest itself protested their movement, branches twisting and stretching like fingers, trying to grasp them back into the shadows. "I can't breathe," Timmy gasped, his face pale with fear. "Keep going, we're almost there." Forcing her legs to function, Sarah broke into a run, the light drawing her like a moth. Every heartbeat screamed for her to look back, to see if the spirits were chasing them. But she couldn't. She wouldn't allow fear to dictate her actions. The fog warped, distorting the trees into inhuman shapes, twisting them into horrors she could scarcely comprehend. Whispered taunts piled onto her, demanding she pay for every misstep, every failure, making her question her very existence, her choices. "Who are you?" Sarah yelled, not sure whom she was shouting at, the darkness, the spirits, or her own haunted memories. "Mommy!" Lily screamed as something cold brushed by her. A gaunt shadow, a figure of despair reached out, fingers elongated, grasping for them. "Run! Do not look back!" Sarah shouted, heart pounding. They pressed on, and the light ahead began to grow more substantial, more real. Maybe this was a chance to escape. Then she saw it. The heart of the light pulsed like a heart, warm and inviting, beckoning them closer. It was a clearing, the fog beginning to recede as they carefully stepped into the brightness. But as they crossed the threshold, the shadows screamed, their wails rising like a tempest. "You can't leave! You don't deserve it!" they echoed, the words seeping into her very soul, clawing at her confidence. Sarah squeezed her eyes shut, clutching her children. "No, we will not be your prisoners!" she shouted. They pushed through the last of the mist, stumbling into the clearing, breathless and wild-eyed. But the moment she opened her eyes, relief flooded through her veins. A sanctuary, a glade free from the darkness, surrounded by flickering fireflies that danced like stars. For a fleeting moment, her heart swelled with hope. "We made it!" But it was quickly crushed. The ground around them quaked, and the air thickened. Figures began to coalesce at the edge of the clearing, their faces contorted with anguish, their hollow eyes fixated upon her. The whispers started again, louder and increasingly frantic, each accusing her of failures, reminding her of all she had lost. "Mommy!" Timmy's voice broke her from paralyzing shock. He pointed. "What are they?" Sarah turned, dread pooling in her stomach as she stared at the figures that came closer, their fingers reaching out like claws. They were her memories, her mistakes materialized. Shadows she had tried to bury, now embodied, filling the space with their tragic cries. "You can't run from us," one of them rasped, and the chilling familiarity sent shivers through her. "Please, just let us go," Sarah pleaded, desperation clawing at her throat. But the air crackled with dark energy, thick with inevitability. They weren't going anywhere. The truth was bound to them like a chain, and unless she faced what lay behind, the shadows would never relent. "Mommy, help!" Lily cried, and Sarah felt the reality tightening around her,
a curtain closing in. Their hopes dashed with nowhere to turn. The price for escape loomed heavy, and the essence of her past was demanding to be paid. Each spirit drew closer, their haunting cries a cacophony of despair. The light around them flickered, dark entities creeping in, curling around the edges. "What do you want from me?" she screamed, her voice cracking. "We want everything," they chorused, a chilling cadence harmonizing her deepest fears. The forest quaked again, and Sarah knew she had to choose. Would she confront the agonizing truth of her past, or allow her family to be swallowed by the shadows? As the whispering cries grew louder, one thought crossed her mind. What darkness was she truly capable of facing? And behind her, the shadows grinned. The whispers crescendoed, an overwhelming tide of voices that clashed against her resolve. Each specter's eye bore into her like nails digging into her skin, raw and relentless. Sarah's heart raced as she felt the air thicken, the brightness of the clearing dimming under the weight of their sorrow. "Lily, Timmy, stay close." She tightened her grip around their small hands, grounding them in her presence, but her own anchoring was faltering. Memories twisted around her like a serpent, coiling tighter with every anguished scream. "You can't escape your past, Sarah," one voice hissed, mimicking the tone of a long-lost friend. The familiarity made her stomach turn. "All you've done, it's time to pay the price." "Shut up! You're not real!" she shouted, desperation clawing at her throat. But the shadows just laughed, a sound like dry leaves rustling in a fierce wind, echoing through the clearing.
Suddenly, the spectral figures lunged forward, their hands grasping for her children. Sarah instinctively stepped back, pulling Timmy and Lily with her. "We have to go!" But where? The clearing was closing in, the spirits surrounding them, their pain spilling over into the space between breaths. They spoke in unison, the chorus rising and falling like a dark wave, drowning her thoughts. "You cannot leave until you face what you've hidden." A flicker of movement caught her eye. The light, the sanctuary, was it fading? It seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, frantic, alive, and she was losing it. "Mommy, I'm scared," Timmy cried, tears streaming down his cheeks. His small fingers tightened around hers, nearly cutting off her circulation. "I know, just trust me." As she turned back to the shadows, Sarah's thoughts spiraled. She could hear the sibilant remarks weaving through her mind, the particularly biting ones piercing deeper. Her failures as a mother, the moments she wished she could take back, the angry words she had hurled, and the forgiveness she could never quite give herself. With a sudden jolt of clarity, she raised her voice, summoning every ounce of defiance. "You think I'll do what you want? I am not you!" At her words, the shadows recoiled as if struck. The trees around the clearing began to shudder, groaning in protest. The light flickered violently, stuttering, forcing her to shield her eyes. "Your fear is what feeds us," a shadow spat, its contorted form lunging at them. For a moment, time slowed. The specter's fingers grazed her arm, icy and searing at the same time, sending a jolt of pure terror coursing through her. In that instant, visions flooded her mind. Echoes of her past failures, moments of regret scrolled like a never-ending film reel. But beneath it all, a flicker of hope ignited. "No," she growled against the tempest of despair. "I won't let you control me." As if acknowledging her resolution, the ground beneath them trembled violently. The shadows shrieked, a high-pitched cacophony that sliced through her very being. "You cannot have them!" she screamed, the words tearing from her throat as she pushed forward, shielding her children. The clearing erupted with blinding light as she charged into the heart of it, pulling Timmy and Lily through the murky veil of shadow. The taunts and curses of the spirits trailed behind, their fury palpable. But just as they broke through, a chilling realization swept over her. They weren't free yet. A thick fog rolled in, swirling like a living thing, twisting around her legs, snaking upward. "Mommy, help us!" Timmy's voice cracked, fear electrifying his tone. In the depths of the fog, Sarah caught a glimpse of something lurking just beyond. A silhouette, darker than the night, watching. "What was that?" Lily whispered, fear pooling in her voice. The silhouette seemed to pulse with life, stretching closer, grotesque in its familiarity. Her stomach dropped, dread settling in her bones. "Is this truly over?" it whispered, the voice tire.
Sarah's breath quickened again, the icy tendrils of panic coiling around her heart. The shadows were not just memories, they promised more, a deeper horror lurking beyond her understanding. "Mommy!" Timmy called, panic lacing his voice. The looming figure in the fog chuckled softly, and as it began to move, Sarah's heart raced. "We've only just begun." As the fog thickened, her last thoughts echoed in the darkness. What if the shadows were only the beginning? The fog enveloped them like a suffocating shroud. It didn't just obscure their vision, it wrapped them in dread, each breath laced with the smell of decay and despair. Sarah squeezed her children's hands, her grip a lifeline tugging them back from the brink. "Keep your eyes on me," she urged, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her fear. The shadows danced around them, whispering, taunting, their voices slithering through the mist. "You think you can outrun this?" the silhouette crooned, slithering closer. It was like a twisted reflection of someone she once knew, a figment of her imagination that had grown grotesque over time. "Stay behind me!" she shouted, but the fog pooled at her feet, pulling her down. It felt alive, a creature that fed on fear, longing to drag them under. Timmy sobbed softly, his body trembling. "I want to go home." "Me too," Lily echoed, her voice small and fragile. Just ahead, an unnatural light flickered, dim and wavering, but somehow beckoning. Hope surged in her chest, almost as potent as the fear. "There's light! We can make it!" But as they moved, the silhouette dashed forward, its form blurring like smoke, dying in and out of existence. "You can't escape me. You are where you belong." "Stop it!" Sarah shouted, her throat raw. Each word felt like it was ripped away from her heart. "You have no power here." Yet, even as she declared this, doubt gnawed at her. What if this was the culmination of all her failures, manifest in this entity? In a burst of sheer instinct, she pulled Timmy and Lily closer, forcing herself to focus on the light ahead. Each step was a battle, the ground itself seeming to rise against them, the fog growing thicker. Glancing back, she saw the silhouette gaining ground, its laughter a wicked echo that chilled her to the bone. "Mommy!" Timmy whimpered, his small body vibrating with fear. "Hold on! Don't let go!" she cried, feeling the weight of their panic suffocating her. The clearing was lost in the haze, branches clawing toward them like skeletal fingers. What if they weren't meant to escape? In the haze, a new sound emerged, a low growling, rumbling like thunder, shifting the tension. It sounded just beyond the edge of visibility, teasing the ear with its ominous promise. The silhouette paused, its grotesque face morphing into a twisted grin, as if it relished her despair. "Can't you hear it?" it taunted. "The call, the pull, you belong in the dark." Heart
Pounding, Sarah fought the urge to succumb to its words. Desperation surged within her. "We are not yours!" The ground trembled beneath her, vibrating with immense power, as if the forest itself were warning her. The fog stirred violently, and out of it, shapes wiggled and writhed, forms that looked almost human, but were missing their essence. "Mommy!" Lily screamed, panic rising to a crescendo. It sliced through Sarah's resolve, shattering the last remnants of her courage. "No!" Sarah bellowed. "You won't take them!" Frantic, she bolted forward, dragging her children, as the silhouettes lunged. Now a horde, shadows fueled by rage. They reached for her like hungry demons, fingers grasping and curling. Just ahead, that glimmering light flickered closer, a heartbeat drumming insistently in her ears. With every ounce of her being, she pushed forward, fighting through the fog, the cries of spirits wrapping around her like chains. The flicker morphed into a blinding blaze, blurring the world, and Sarah and her children reached out, drawn to that warmth. But then the fog erupted with a deafening roar, a cacophony of voices that drowned her cries and sent shockwaves through her body. The darkness surged, swirling violently, as if awakening from slumber. Amidst that chaos, an unsettling thought crept in. What if the light is just another deception? As that thought washed over her, the shadows charged, closing in from all sides. And then, just when she thought the end was certain, the world went dark. "What now?" a whisper echoed, and the air chilled, promising more horrors ahead. A sudden, jarring silence engulfed them. The shadows faded, leaving Sarah and her children suspended in darkness. Confusion washed over her. Were they dead? Had the darkness finally claimed them? But as her heart resumed its frantic pounding, she felt an unexpected warmth encircling them, a stark contrast to the chill that had enveloped them just moments before. "Mommy?" Timmy's voice trembled, beaming with vulnerability, yet steadied by her presence. "We're together. We're strong," Sarah whispered, hoping her words would pierce the suffocating silence. She felt their fear like a living entity, but even now her heart was a lifeline. They had faced horrors together and come out the other side. There had to be a way to escape this nightmare. From the depths of the darkness, a soft light began to emerge, a halo of hope, inviting yet cautioning. It pulsed like a heartbeat, urging her to take a step forward. The moment she moved, reeling from the deep-rooted dread that clung to them, a familiar voice broke through the veil. "Face your truth, Sarah." Recognition tightened around her gut as the silhouette of a man emerged. His form was warm and inviting. Kind eyes smiled in contrast to the horror. "Dad," she stumbled, astonishment mingling with fear. "Yes, I've been waiting, like the others. This is where the truth must be faced," he said, his voice echoing with compassion. The light behind him swelled, pushing back the edges of darkness. And Sarah's resolve began to strengthen once more. "You have the power," he continued, stepping closer, the warmth emanating from him wrapping around them like a protective cocoon. "Your family is forged from the same spirit, the same blood. You must stand tall. You can rewrite the ending." Tears stung her eyes. With a surge of emotion, she embraced her children tightly, pulling them closer. "We're not afraid, not anymore." Her voice rang out firm, marching against the tide of shadows that stirred beyond their small circle of light. The haunting voices of the entity surged in protest, taunting her doubts. "You think love ignites light? It only serves to blind." "Blind?" Sarah challenged, the defiance in her heart flaring like fire. "It's the only thing that can tear the dark apart." As if sensing her conviction, the light intensified, its brilliance swallowing the despair. The shadows recoiled, splintering, their howls morphing into a twisted chorus of frustration that reverberated through the air. The figures loomed closer, dark and dripping in anguish. Yet, with each step they took toward the light, Sarah felt a flicker of power swelling within her. "Together," she urged, squeezing her children's hands. "On 3, we let go of the past. We can reshape our story." Timmy and Lily nodded, their trust shining through the fear. 1, 2, 3. With a breath that felt like a declaration, they released their anxieties, whispered secrets of their burdens, and every moment that had shackled them to despair. The shadows screamed, the echoes of their rage peaking into an agonized howl before imploding into the brightness. Like a fragile tapestry unraveling, the dark dissolved. In its place, an ethereal glow flooded around them. And just like that, the fog lifted. Sarah blinked in the sudden daylight, illuminating a verdant field stretched out before them. Timmy and Lily were still at her side, their eyes wide with wonder. The cacophony of their past had been replaced by the sweet song of birds and the rustling dance of leaves. "Mommy, we're free?" Lily gasped, disbelief coloring her voice. "Yes!" Sarah exclaimed, joy surging through her. The burdens had fallen upon and belonged to the soot-laden past. They were not alone. They had each other. In that moment, all fear evaporated, leaving only the echoes of strength lingering in the air. Her heart swelled as she grasped them tightly. No matter what happens, we can always stand together. As they took a collective breath of hope, the memories of darkness faded, no longer consuming, but transforming into the lessons that defined them. They had faced their fears and emerged reborn, bursting with light. But the path home was still ahead, beckoning her toward a new beginning. "Let's go, my loves, we have stories to share." And hand in hand, they stepped forward into the brilliance, together ready to write a new chapter, leaving the shadows behind. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand how important it is to support the channel through these actions.